All right. Mr. Medlin, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, my name is Justin Medlin, DOC number 775045.
Yep, 775045. Let me get back to the right page. All right, Mr. Medlin, let's see. You're classified as a first felony offender, currently serving a 5-year sentence for a conviction in Caddo Parish of decent behavior with a juvenile.
Yes, ma'am.
Parole eligibility date was June 11th, 2023. You're not eligible for good time, so your full term date is June 10th, 2026. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Your your case is assigned to me, so I'm gonna take the lead on the interview.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
old are you, sir?
31, ma'am.
How long have you been in jail?
2 years.
2 years. 2 of a 5-year sentence. And so that would put you around 29 at the time of this offense.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, and your relationship to the victim in this case was what?
My stepsister.
She was your stepsister.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was, how old was she?
13.
And so I'm a little confused because in your application, in my packet, I see where you claim you're innocent.
Yes, ma'am.
Crime. You pled guilty in court
Yes, ma'am.
to a lesser charge. I think your aunt wrote a letter explaining the plea.
Yes, ma'am.
You were facing a longer sentence. But then in your letter, you also tell us, I know I've done wrong and made mistakes. That's what landed me in jail. I've learned from my mistakes. So would you tell us what did you do? Tell us about the lesson. What have you done wrong?
Well, first off, I shouldn't have gotten as close emotionally and psychologically as I did with the victim. Like I said, it's my dad's girlfriend's daughter. She's troubled. She was a very troubled teen. I went through a lot of that stuff myself as a teenager and growing up. And I took what my dad and her mom wanted me to do and get close to her and talk to her, because they both tried to talk to her and get her to open up, but she wouldn't open up to them. So they came to me since I was younger and to talk to her. Well, I started talking to her and she started opening up to me, but then she started coming at me in more ways than a brother, more like she was attracted to me. And there was multiple times that I told her that don't see her that way. I don't look at people that way at that age. But I could have just put a stop to it then. But I didn't, because I tried to handle it on my own, but apparently it didn't work. And by so doing, I put myself in a predicament to where, I made mistakes. I got close. I made comments I shouldn't have made, and that was on my own volition. That was my own stupidity that got me in the predicament that I arrived in. So, as I said,
you have written a letter to be placed in sex offender treatment.
Yes, ma'am. Because when I got registered, when I had to take my time, I saw when I did all my research on probation and parole, y'all look for good time classes and stuff like that. Well, I didn't want to squander my chance, and I didn't want y'all to look at it and be like, all right, Mr. Medlin didn't take any classes. Well, I'm here in Richland Parish, and sadly, they don't offer any classes for me to take. So the only option I could do was write Wade or Hunts, the places that I was told that offer those programs, so I could take it, so I could show y'all that I'm not just sitting here in jail idle, just twiddling my thumbs, not trying to better myself. I understand I made a mistake, but I wanted to better myself because, talk is cheap. I was taught that from a young age, and I wanted to actually show, y'all as the board, my family and myself, that I can do whatever needs to be done to prove that, hey, if y'all want me to do this, then I'll do that. I have no problem of bettering myself and understanding that I made a mistake and needed treatment if I needed treatment. If that's so what y'all you or the DOC wants me to do. I don't have any opposing of that because I am a good person. I made a mistake. I made comments I shouldn't have made, and I take ownership of that. And me being down for these 2 years, the only thing I've been able to do is take Bible course studies from CLI Prison Alliance. I got my first certificate from that. I'm still doing that right now. But as far as everything else, sadly, in satellite camps, they don't offer anything for somebody labeled me to take. I've tried to do work release. I can't do that. I try to be trustee. Can't do that. And I understand it's what I'm labeled, and that's on me. That's my fault. But I'm just wanting to do everything I can to be the best me that I can be.
All right. You do have opposition that's been expressed in the record. I'm trying to get to it so I can tell you who they are. Well, the sentencing judge in Caddo Parish, they just have a blanket opposition. The district attorney's office is opposed based on the serious nature of the case. Sheriff's office is opposed. Of course, your family is supportive. The victim's mother is unopposed.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is unusual.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was saying. You know, yeah,
you don't need to comment on that. So what would be your plans? I know you did include some plans in your packet.
Yes, ma'am.
You tell us on the record what your plans, should you be successful, what are your plans?
Well, my plans are, first off, to get out and go to the probation parole, do my registration, pay all the fees I need to do. And from what I was told through my grandma, Sue Robertson, that a parole officer called her, and they stated that there is opportunities for me labeled as a sex offender to be able to get a job. Obviously, I want to do a job. I don't like sitting by idle. I want to get in a job, and again, to be able to pay my way and take care of myself and my family right now. So I'm going to be, if granted successfully, if I do get a parole, I'm going to be moving back with my grandparents, my grandma, Sue Robertson, and my papa, Jimmy, and helping take care of him because he has dementia right now, and it's all on her right now. So just paying my dues to society as a person should be doing. And if need be, I'm really wanting to get into Celebrate Recovery, because I started doing that here in jail, and I've been realizing that even though I'm not addicted to drugs or alcohol, I had other addictions that I needed to face and fix, and I would like to continue on doing that and continue on trying to better my life and help people in the process that are in the same shoes or that have been locked up before. Because me being down for 2 years, I've seen the other side of the coin, and it's not pretty, but you make the best of the situation, and that's what I want to do when I get home. Make the best of it.
What are the addictions you need to address, or that you needed to address?
My simple addictions are I was addicted to smoking cigarettes. I was addicted to gambling. Gambling was the biggest one. Other than that, nothing. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Never have, never will. But other than those two, I watch porn, legal porn, but I think that's pretty normal for everybody as an adult, but I don't think I would be addicted to that. But just smoking and gambling would be it.
All right. Any questions? Yes.
Ms. Medlin, I'm listening to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have some concerns about you. I do. One, no, it's not normal that everybody don't watch porn. Not. You said you watch porn, but you don't think that's an addiction. You were talking to Miss Renata about your addictions. You mentioned gambling and cigarettes, and you said, well, I watch porn, but that's normal for an adult legal porn.
Yes, ma'am. I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be watching that either. And that's another thing that I'm working on, especially being in jail, being a part of my church service and stuff, is not doing the same mistakes that I made in the past, because in the past I did make mistakes like we all do. I made grievous mistakes, and I was more worried about the here and now and the flesh than what I should have been doing for myself spiritually and emotionally. And
Just a moment, if you would. I'm also concerned about your ownership of responsibility. I'm not sure that I'm convinced about your explanation of what occurred between you and the victim. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've heard a lot of people, I've listened to a lot of people, and I'm not really convinced that nothing happened sexually between you and the victim. And so my concern is that if you're not willing to acknowledge to yourself, and I know it's hard because you got a family on Zoom, and you told them something and maintained the story with them for a long time, and they're here today. And so that may make it difficult for you to acknowledge what actually happened in this case. And quite frankly, I don't think that you have acknowledged exactly what happened. And so going to sex offender treatment, don't know how beneficial that would be if you don't own responsibility and acknowledge your issues. And I'm concerned about that. And I want you to know that I have some serious concerns about that. I've been a judge, I was a judge for 28 years. I've listened to and talked to a lot of people, and you get a sense for who's saying what they think people want to hear, and people who are honestly answering based on, the reality of your situation. I just want you to know that I have some concerns. That's all I.
All right, you have some family members who have joined us, so we'll hear from them at this time. I think your aunt is on Zoom, Miss Medlin. We'd like to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. I am in favor of Justin being paroled so he can start back to work and being a responsible person. I hear what the last Miss Jackson said. I don't agree with that, not just because I'm his aunt, because of all of the conversations with the victim, the mother of the victim, my brother. Their variations of everything that took place has changed probably 20 plus times over. It still changes to this day.
Yeah, you've given us all those details in your letter. We did get. So
I'm just stating that I don't think it is black and white as it's being made to be. That being said, my nephew, from what I've learned from the attorneys, that when a question like this is asked, he should have asked for an attorney, but he didn't, because he thought he was being honest, and he went to the jailhouse twice, not once, but twice, just to answer a question. They said that was his biggest mistake, because he's thinking he's giving honest answers, and then he was basically just a sitting duck, I guess. I don't really know how all that works, but that being said, we did not want him to take a plea. We did not want him to agree to something that we did not feel that he had done, and that the victim and the mother and my brother have all said he did not do, even though their stories have changed. But he got scared because of the judge was brand new, and the judge was very harsh from the very beginning, and he did not even come across as someone that was being subjective. He had very strong opinions, and it scared Justin. And at the very last minute, and our attorneys was very confident with the proof that he had, but Justin at the last minute changed his mind and took a plea, and we couldn't, he was the person that had to make that decision ultimately, even though we didn't want him to do that. But he got scared because the judge was saying, you're facing 25 years. And he was like, my whole life will be gone. So anywho, we were told that day he would be going to a facility that he could do rehabilitation courses and et cetera, et cetera. None of that happened. He was sent to a place that didn't provide that. I think as he was mentioned, he has been asking for those kind of services and classes. He hasn't received that either.
Right, Ms. Medlin, can you wrap it up for us? You got about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, getting out, I mean, I financially will help my mother, help Justin get all his fines, whatever is needed to get him back sustainable and ready for, living at my mom's house. My mom is taking care of my stepfather, who has Alzheimer's. And so it would be very helpful to her as well. And I think good for Justin to have that kind of responsibility.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And yeah, and we have Miss Sue Roberts on the phone. Miss Roberts. Let me there you go, Miss Roberts.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm here.
What would you like to say to us?
Okay, Justin is my grandson and he lived with me twice in his high school. Never had any trouble out of him at all. He would be a really big help to me right now with my husband. I'm almost 73 and my husband's way bigger than me, so having a man here would really help. I do believe he's a good
All right, yes, ma'am. We appreciate your participation today. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, Justin,
Ma'am.
is there anybody anybody there with you? A staff member?
Yes, Warden Wade's outside. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you ask him to step in for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
You can say where you're at. Warden, is
Yeah.
there any input you can give us about Mr. Medlin?
I don't really know very much about it.
Well, sometimes that's a good thing. It means he
Yes,
stayed
I
out of
do.
trouble. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Justin, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we go?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Jackson, I want to say thank you for your concern. I appreciate that, and you've definitely opened my eyes up to a lot of things that I need to be more proactive in my recovery of my mistakes that I've made. And I hope that, if God forbid, if I'm not granted parole, can I at least please be granted to where I can get into some type of thing that'll help me so I can have the best chance upon release, whether it be parole or full term, to be the best legal citizen again in the world. That's all I want to do. I want to prove to myself and to everybody else that just because I'm in orange doesn't mean that I'm a monster. I made mistakes. I'm sorry for that, but I do want to be better. I want to be a better person. And it's a learning process, and I'm learning as I go. But like my parents said, I am a good person. I made mistakes in my life. I've regretted, but I want to be the best that I can be. That's all I ask. I just want to be a normal person again and go back to work and live a life and pay taxes like everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Justin, I think we're prepared to vote. And I hear everything you're saying. I hear everything your family is saying. I have shared the same concerns that Mrs. Jackson has voiced. Without the sex offender treatment, I don't feel confident in a grant of parole. My vote today is going to be to deny your parole, but I will make a strong recommendation that the Department of Corrections moves you to a facility to afford you that treatment program.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you will have an opportunity to reapply for another hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
After you complete that treatment program, do so.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Jackson.
All right, mine is the same, Mr. Mellon. I think you can really benefit from participating in the sex offender program, and it's unfortunate that you've been housed at a facility that doesn't afford you that opportunity. So my vote today is a vote of encouragement. It's going to be to deny, but we're going to do everything we can to get you transferred to a facility where you can enroll in and complete the sex offender treatment and then reapply once you're eligible.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Great.
Mr. Medlin, my vote would be to grant.
Yes, sir.
And just order that you follow all the rules of the sex offender contract and attend the classes on the outside.
Yes, sir.
All right, so in your case, because of the nature of the charge, it does require unanimous vote. So the end result of today's proceeding is that your parole's been denied. We're going to encourage you to do the sex offender treatment. We'll do everything we can to get you there and reapply. Good luck to you. So.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Cockroach. You know, we see all different kinds of cockroaches in these Louisiana parole hearings. And there is a trend with a lot of them, and that is that they are coddled by family members that enable them to create these crimes and then sit around them and act in a way where they are actually saying he is innocent. The victim is lying. The system is against him. It was a young judge. He went to the police station and spoke to the detectives. He was just being honest. And I guess what was her words? A sitting duck or something? The whole thing reeks. And we're all losing the fact that there was a 13-year-old girl at the time that was not only assaulted by her stepbrother, a 29-year-old man, but then to have her own family make her out to be a liar? Where her own mother supports the man who assaults her? Shame on you. Open your eyes. You only even had to listen to what he said to realize what a disgusting roach he is. And he says, in his final statements, just because I'm an orange, it doesn't make me a monster. No, sir. No matter what color you would be wearing, you're a monster. You're a roach. A manipulative, disgusting roach. These ones are scary because of how manipulative they are. He even got Mr. Freeman to grant him. Mr. Freeman's been on fire lately. He's really been a kind of rocher in the way he's been denying people. So I was just surprised by it. And maybe he granted because he knew that he was already denied. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's like some type of gesture. He was 29 years old. She was 13. Think about that. 13. He says he claims he's innocent, but he only pled guilty. So Miss Jackson says, well, if you didn't do anything wrong, then why are you saying you've known in the packet that you've done things wrong? And he says, well, it was wrong the way that he says, so he explains the whole story. His dad has a girlfriend. I guess he married the girlfriend because this was his stepsister, he said. I don't know, maybe not technically a stepsister. Dad has a girlfriend who has a daughter. He calls her a troubled teen. She's 13 years old. She's a baby. He calls her a troubled teen. She started opening up. She wasn't talking to them, so they think it's a great idea, or he's just a manipulative roach because 29-year-old, whatever. Like, as far as a 13-year-old is concerned, a 29-year-old is an old man. It's not like a relatable age. I know when I was 13, 29 was ancient. So they wanted me to talk to her. So she started opening up to me. And then she started coming on to me. And I could have put a stop to it, you know, but I made mistakes. Are you kidding me? This is what he says at his parole hearing. That's the mistakes that he's talking about. Then he has the mother, the victim, his aunt. They have all these people that come and support him. The 13-year-old started coming on to me, and he said, and I made comments that I shouldn't have. Oh, so that's why you're locked up? That's why you took a plea deal, because you made comments that you shouldn't have? Really? Sick. This man he was indicted on first degree, okay? They don't just do that. "13 years old. Thank goodness the DA office said they were opposed in writing. Why didn't they show up? Because they don't care. And then they say that the judge was new and was biased and was their attorney said to go for court, but he got nervous because he's facing 25 years, so he didn't. Really? They were so biased that he accepted a 5-year plea deal where he can get parole opportunity after 2 years? Oh yeah, that's a real biased judge. You want to see a biased judge? I'll show you some biased judges where they turn down 10-year plea deals and say, I'm taking this to court. 5-year plea deal. I would love, we should FOIA those 2 interviews he had with the detectives at the station. We should do that. Can we do that? I've never done a FOIA request, but if I've ever wanted to now, it's to get those recordings of those interviews, and we can play them up so the family can actually hear in his words what he did to that 13-year-old girl. Believe you me, you don't take a 5-year plea deal when you are innocent of doing something that vile. You just don't. We'll do another hearing after this. But then I bet you he wished so badly he could take back the words. He's like, well, I was addicted to cigarettes. I was addicted to gambling. That was my big addiction. But porn, I watch porn, but I'm not. And Miss Jackson's like, and look, let's be real. I mean, yes, most of the world watches a lot of it, but I have a feeling that he does have an addiction to porn. Now, whether he did child stuff or not, that's something that I always bring up, which is like, I think there's like I've said this before. I said this before. What's his name? Chris Hansen says there are like 3 different types, and there are people of child predators, right? And they're the ones that just obsess and live and breathe it, and it's their only obsession. There are others where it's like the Romeo and Juliet, and then there's ones where might be what this Cockroach Justin category falls under, which is that there's an opportunity, he takes it. And I like to think that it's very easy to tell because you just take their phone. And if the content's in their phone, that's your answer right there. And if it's not, and he's watching regular, then you know which category you might fall under. But he also said he never drank, never did drugs. So keep in mind that he did all of this completely sober. Like, he doesn't even have the excuse of being a meth head. But really, the worst part, it's not even him. The worst part is that this poor 13-year-old girl is made to feel like she's the liar. She's then made to feel like it's her fault that every Christmas that he's not sitting at their table is her fault. And if you can imagine, she's put into a situation where she probably doesn't even know if she made it up or not, and where she is not believed and trusted by her own family, by her own mother. That's the victim in this case, and that's why it's important for the DA to show up. For the DA to speak the facts of the case, for the DA to voice it, because you're supposed to be the victim's advocate. The idea that her family is not supporting her can be more damaging than this cockroach and this monster, what he did to her. Can be. Which is why Mr. Freeman shouldn't have granted. Cockroach doesn't deserve any type of coup de grace. Sick. But it's also the world we live in. All right. We'll do another one that's let's jump in. Oh. I just realized I wasn't sharing right. There we go. So this one's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. It's pretty intense. You ever notice the Star Wars poster there? Maybe you have. We've seen many hearings at this facility. It was actually quite interesting because a man had just left, and this is like the women's prison. So I don't know what he was doing there, but maybe they have a shared facility, like not shared in that sense. I know, but more like maybe there's two wings to it. But I think all of them, except for the previous hearing, have been women up until this time. The Star Wars poster, there's just something funny about it.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name's Tiffany Green. My DOC number is 596192.
All right. Let me just read some identifying information and then we'll start the parole interview process. So Ms. Green, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 10-year sentence for operating a vehicle while intoxicated, fourth offense. Parole eligibility date was March 9th, 2023, and you have a good time date, March 8th, 2024. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you answer the question?
Good morning, Ms. Green. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Ms. Green, how old are you?
I'm 43.
How much time have you served on this charge?
It has been 18 months this time. The charge is from 2011, and I've served some time on it before.
How much time did you serve before?
When I originally got the charge in 2011, I did 6 months. They released me and I had to do drug court, which I graduated. Then I had a sanction in 17, a drug court sanction. My daughter passed away and I ended up relapsing, and my judge sent me to Tallulah to do the long-term substance abuse class, which I completed, which I did 10 months on that, and he let me out. And this time I've done 18 months.
So why have you had such a hard time completing the conditions of your supervision?
Well, I was reporting up until I got paranoid with COVID. And then we had a storm in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where I'm from, Hurricane Laura. We had to evacuate. I couldn't report. And when I got back, they had flashed a warrant out for my arrest.
How
I
long?
reported up until those times.
Well, let's talk about your substance abuse issue. You have a fourth offense, driving while intoxicated.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
I was addicted to prescription Xanax for a long time in my life. But once I completed drug court, I was sober for 5 years. And when I had my setback when my 19-year-old daughter passed away, I did relapse. But
okay, stop talking. You said your 19-year-old daughter passed away. I think in your application, you said she died of a drug overdose. Is that
had
correct?
an accidental overdose, yes, ma'am.
On what?
I have no idea.
So
It was just ruled as an accidental overdose in 2017.
they never indicated what drug it was?
No, ma'am. When her autopsy came back, they could not find nothing in her system. But the coroner ruled it as an accidental overdose.
You know,
Hey, that's a problem. To this day, I don't understand it.
you had the third offense and then less than 60 days later, you get the fourth offense.
Yes, ma'am.
What was going on? Why were you involved in drug activity?
I was abusing my own prescription medication. I was.
But why?
Life, I guess. I was young, I was dumb, I was stupid. I was married at the time. My husband ended up passing away, and it was just, it was hard. But
Ms. Green, life is still out there.
right. I
Life's
have
got-
been sober for 6 years, though. I have been sober for 6 years.
So what's your plan to remain sober?
My plan to remain sober is, I mean, I want to be sober. That's my plan. I have to be sober. I have
I
kids.
mean, okay, you want it, but how do you get it? How do you maintain it? How do you?
Well, I attend when I'm
how do
out, I attend meetings. I have sponsors. I use the drug court team all the time. I love them so much. They've changed my life. They have changed my life. I'm proud of myself with these 6 years. 18 months of it has been incarcerated, but I am proud of myself. I talk to young girls about drugs all the time because of what happened to my daughter. And I just don't want that life anymore. Since I have been incarcerated, I learned to do the right thing when no one's looking. And it's the only way. I can't go back to that life because I have to be there for my kids. I don't want to die.
How many kids do you have
I
remaining?
have 5 living kids.
And where are they now?
They are in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Home?
Ma'am,
Home.
my 3 of my kids are grown. They live on their own. And I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. And they're with their daddy.
How old are you?
43.
And what's your transition plan if you were to be successful today?
Well, I'm already working. I've been working for 5 months at Delta Biscuit Company here in Monroe, Louisiana. I have a coworker that I have become so close with. She wants me, if it's eligible, she has an extra room, to stay with her until I can get on my feet, which I have a lot of money saved in my account to get on my feet. I'm going to plan on staying here in Monroe because I get a $5 raise once I get out. I have a letter from my job and the owner. The owner of Delta Biscuit has plenty of rent houses. He's willing to let me rent one. Until then, I would be with a coworker until I get in my own place. And then my younger kids are going to come here with me.
Who's in the room with you?
It's Deputy Marchand.
Deputy Marchand, is there any information that you have on the screen that you can share with the board?
No incidents, no write-ups. You are enrolled in
Work with me.
union classes.
I've taken classes on this charge. I take the parenting class, but it just started. We have one class.
Okay, yeah, enrolled in the parenting class that just started, but no incidents, no write-ups, and she is a highly recommended worker by Misty May, our work release director.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Renata. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Green, is there any a statement you'd like to make to us before we vote?
I do appreciate the opportunity. I do appreciate the opportunity for even granting me the hearing. I had a hearing in March. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad it got rescheduled. My past is not that great, but I do have a business management degree. I'm certified in hospitality. I'm always working my way to the top. I didn't let my prescription drug use set me back. I had a hard time, but I picked myself back up and I want to stay straight. I want to stay stopped. This ain't for me. You know, I'm a mother. I'm a hardworking woman, and I just want to return to my children. Since I have been incarcerated, my 14-year-old son was shot by a 12-year-old kid. He's been in the hospital for a year. He has both of his feet amputated. It's hard on his grandmother. He's 15 now, I'm sorry. I just need to get to him. And I just want to help. I just need to get to my son. I said I wasn't going to cry, but his grandmother talks about how hard it is on her because he has to go through rehabilitation. He's about to be getting out of the hospital soon, and she just don't know how she's going to take care of him since they amputated both of his feet. The 12-year-old that shot him is incarcerated. And he needs me, and I need him.
Okay, thank you. We are prepared to vote, Mrs. Jackson.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Green, my vote today is to grant your early release. With the conditions that upon release, you attend at least 3 AA or NA meetings per week.
Okay.
And my recommendation.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur with Ms. Jackson.
And I do too. I've enjoyed listening to you speak.
Thank you so
My
much.
vote today also is to grant, and your special conditions, as she has indicated, is you must attend 3 AA meetings.
That's not a problem. I have a sponsor already.
Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll watch another one after this. So it was just intense, and of course you hear about her losing her daughter by an OD. Yet the autopsy says they have no idea what type. Then in her finishing statement, she talks about her son getting shot, and I took notes and I listened to this twice. This is where I don't know if she's just nervous or if the story's, but she said that a 13-year-old boy shot her 12-year-old son. Now her son's 15. The 12-year-old who shot him is in prison. So it could be she's just nervous. Either way, her son, who's a baby, got shot by another baby, and he's got his feet amputated. Are you kidding me? And you know what's worse or as bad or shocking is that you Google it and it's a full page, not in just Louisiana, of boys that age who are getting shot. I couldn't even find this story. It's probably buried so deep in the internet. And that's just, whoa. I'm confused about this hearing because everything, it's like, I guess she got, it seems that she got revoked for not reporting, yet she's been sober this whole time, because she said that she's been sober for 6 years. Only 18 months of it has been locked up. So it seems to me that she had gotten revoked, but she would have had a revocation hearing by the parole board and then had to back up her time. I don't know. The whole, really, I'm confused. And, but I'm happy she's getting out. And, even if she did somehow, even I mean, she lost a daughter and her son is in the hospital. It's just terrifying. And, it seems like this was prescription stuff like Xanax and things, not, and DUIs on Xanax, which is a serious issue. I mean, Xanax is dangerous if you abuse it, really is. And I don't know how you really stop it. It's not even like you can do gram bracelets, and not like you can have breathalyzer to start your car, right? It's just Xanax. But anyways, I'm happy she got let out. Let's do another hearing. I don't know what did you think? Do you think that she? Can you imagine? This is what I was talking about, how they have a man in what I thought was a all-women's prison. But he's here for a revocation hearing. And I guess we could fast forward.
For today is Thursday, July 27th, 2023. It's 8:03 a.m. We're here for our revocations this morning. And my name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chair of today's parole panel. We are in Baton Rouge at DOC headquarters. And for the record, I'd like our staff here to introduce themselves, please.
All right, Carla Williams, Whitney Charleston.
Francis Abbott.
And our first remote location this morning is at Ouachita Parish Correctional Center. Would the staff there in Ouachita introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, it's Deputy Marchand.
Good morning. And we have before us Mr. Woods. Good morning, Mr. Woods.
Good morning. How you doing? How y'all doing?
Good, thanks for asking. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
Thaddious Woods, 564119.
All right, Mr. Woods, do you have a parole revocation questionnaire there with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you sign that piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And based on the information in that document, you're not eligible for appointed counsel. Are you ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to read the allegations against you, and you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 4. Excuse me. You were arrested on October 20th, 2022 for the offense of domestic abuse battery by strangulation and domestic abuse battery. These charges were declined and you pled guilty to the amended charge of criminal trespassing and were sentenced to 6 months parish jail. How do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Would you answer Mr. Freeman's questions, please?
Okay, Mr. Wood, I noticed that when I was reading this, and look, be honest with me today, it's gonna get you a lot further, okay?
Yes, sir.
It looks like you admitted at first that there was an altercation between you and Miss Battaglia. Is that true or not? Tell me right now.
Look, we had a verbal altercation about women, but as far as the domestic, we never had a domestic.
Okay, she had come to the jail to say that you hadn't done nothing, but you had already admitted to the charge by the time she got there. So y'all did have a fight.
No, we never had a fight. We never had a fight, sir. It was just an argument about a woman that the next door neighbor pulled up in our yard, and she thought it was for me.
Yeah. How did she get the marks on her throat?
She never had marks on her throat.
They got a picture of her. Come on, man. Tell me the truth. You're gonna get off easy.
She had an altercation with her brother. She had an altercation with her brother and them. Prior to that, she was trying to break up a fight and ended up getting elbowed in the eye.
How long have you been in jail?
9 months.
9 months. Okay, I have a recommendation.
All right. Mr. Woods, is there a statement you'd like to make before we vote?
No, ma'am.
All right, you ready to vote, Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Woods, I wish you'd have been a little bit more honest with me. I think there was a lot more that went on. I was basically gonna just reprimand you and turn you loose because you've been in jail 9 months.
Me and her never had a
It's okay, we vote now. So my recommendation is going to be to not revoke and require him to take the sex offender
Domestic violence.
domestic violence class.
Okay, Mrs. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Woods, my vote is the same. I think you can benefit from the domestic violence program.
My vote also is the same. Do not revoke. Add a special condition that you attend and complete the domestic violence prevention program.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That concludes our business at Washita. Thanks for accommodating us this morning. We're going to sign off. It's 8:08. Oh, I'm sorry. We have.
And we can do another one after this. That was quick. Yeah, a few things that I that stuck out to me on this one. One was, I thought, Mr. Freeman didn't let his ego get in the way. He said, it was actually funny. He's like, cut him off. He's like, come on, man, be honest with me. It'll be much easier for you. He just wanted him to be honest. And when he stuck to his guns, people with egos might be like, that's it, you're revoked. And he didn't do that. Now, the question is, do you believe him? Do you not believe him? There have been so many hearings that we've seen. I don't know what percentage it is. Is it 30%? Is it 20? Is it 50? Where I am convinced that the woman did make it up completely and just to get him locked up. We've seen so many of them. There are probably the majority where the woman did not make it up, but still the numbers are high enough that it's not so simple. You can't just. Now, what seemed to happen, she came to jail and said she made it up, which, we see that'll happen all the time. So you only give so much credence to it. He admitted to doing it before she came, which got him in trouble. They dropped the charges. He took a 6-month deal, which, and then they decided not to revoke him, but, well, they didn't drop it. They lowered the charge. And then he sticks to his guns here. Which is, I don't know, almost gotten him in trouble. And his story was pretty like, oh no, she's black and blue. I mean, Mr. Freeman brings up the marks on her neck while he's like, she got elbowed in the eye, so she's a black blue eye. Me personally, in this case, I don't believe him. The cases that we have seen where it seems very clear without any doubt that she had made it up. In this one, there's too many coincidences for me to believe it. The fact that he admits it, the fact that she is black and blue eye, the fact that, but I guess we'll just take it with a grain of salt and that he served 9 months, let him out with taking a program, of course, because we all know how important programs are. Let's see. I guess we can do this one. Okay.
Morning, sir. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Timothy Paul Savage. My DOC number is 590-568.
And so you've been through this process before.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we'll just dive right in. Mr. Savage, you're classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 15-year sentence, aggravated criminal damage to property, aggravated battery, and another aggravated criminal damage to property. Your parole date was September 4th, 2016, and you have a good time date, December 9th, 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you answer his questions?
Okay, Mr. Savage, how old are you?
I'm 46 years old.
How long have you spent in jail on this charge?
A little under 12 years now. September 8th would be 12 years.
Okay, that'd be 12 out of 15, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, what is your education level?
I only completed the 9th grade. In 2006, I took a GED program out of Wyoming through the mail. And, but I haven't been able to get in contact with them people since I've been incarcerated.
You've had a hearing before, correct?
Yes, sir, 2 years ago.
Okay, and it was a 2-to-1 vote, 2 in favor, 1 against. Do you have any contact whatsoever with Ms. Dollar?
No, sir, not at all.
Are you planning on living anywhere near Ms. Dollar?
No, sir, I sure don't. We live way out in the country, probably 20 minutes from town, somewhere around there.
Okay, what is your plan if you were to get out? Where you gonna work, where you gonna live?
Well, I'd be working for my cousin Ben Lee in Haynesville for Interstate Specialty. And I'd be living with my brother, sister-in-law, and my mom.
Okay. Law enforcement, the DA's opposed, the sheriff's office is opposed. Unopposed is your brother. Is that who you're gonna be living with? Are you gonna live with your mother, you said?
They all three live in the same house. I'll be living with all of them.
Okay. The victims are opposed. You had 3 prior periods of supervision. 3 of them were revoked. What was the problem?
Sir, on the supervision.
Yeah, were you ever on probation or parole?
Oh, I was on probation. That was probably in 2003.
Okay, and that got revoked, correct?
No, sir. It was a 2-year period.
Mhm.
And it was unsupervised. I went back to work and everything.
Do you have any children?
Yes, sir. I have 3 children.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I have the right person. Do you have any contact with your kids?
Yes, sir. My 2 oldest ones I do.
Okay. How old are your 2 oldest?
My oldest is my daughter, and she's 24. And my second oldest, he's 21.
You have a pretty good criminal record, with some violence. You've taken any classes since you've been in prison?
Yes, sir.
Your anger?
Yes, sir. I sure did. In 2021, I entered the Steve Hoyle program in Bossier. And I'm sorry, in 2020. And I took the 9-month program. I got my certificates here with me. And graduated from the 9-month program, and then took an extended 3-month program and graduated from it in 2021.
So have you learned anger management? Have you taken anger management?
Yes, sir, I have.
What do you think your crime, what kind of effect you think it had on the victim?
I know it affected them in a bad way, and I really want to apologize to them and apologize to the whole court system and everybody else too for the actions that I had and the things that I said and did, because I've been really sorry for those things. And I just pray and ask for forgiveness from others also, in that I'm sorry for hurting them and the things that I did to them and the things that I messed up at their house and their vehicle and everything.
Your risk is low. Have you had any write-ups since you've been in prison?
I had one back in 2018 for a cell phone.
Okay. Have you had any since 2018?
No, sir.
Okay. You've taken a bunch of classes. And like you say, you did finish those programs.
Yes, sir.
Strengthening families, victim accountability. Looks like you took a heavy equipment course, did you?
Yes, sir. Back in 2017.
Were you a mentor for that course?
He used me a little bit for operating to show others how to do different things.
Yeah, it says you were a mentor.
Yes, sir. Hammett.
Warden, you have anything to say about Mr. Savage? Is there anybody in there with you?
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Savage has been here with us in our work release program for about 200 days, 0 write-ups, model worker, but I don't think we have any classes available here that he hasn't already taken. So I don't know if we could benefit him here.
I would think so. Okay, I have no further questions. I will make my recommendation at the proper time.
Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Savage, how old were you when all of this was going on? With the victim in this case?
I was 34.
How was she?
19, I believe.
Like probably 17 or 18. Does that sound more like it?
She was 18 when I met her. And she
So
just got
why were you so obsessed with this young teenager? Why were you so obsessed with her? That
I'm
you,
not for sure. We just met and hit it off, and got together. But at the time back then, I had some really major problems, anger issues, and to be honest, I had some drug issues too at the time. And I've seeked help since I've been down and received.
but you haven't answered my question. You were a 34-year-old man,
Yes, ma'am.
almost twice this young lady's age.
Mhm.
And when she didn't want to be in a relationship with her, you had 2 incidences. One where you rammed her vehicle with her in it. Another when you ran into her parents' vehicle and her parents' house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't have any idea why you were so obsessed with this young lady? That you would do that to somebody?
Yes, ma'am. I know I had some problems and it
Well, my concern is when you get out and you get in a relationship with somebody else, whether they're close to your age or not, if things don't go well in the relationship, how do I know you're not going to react the same way? Try to force your will on them, act out in inappropriate ways. I mean, how? Because you're not telling me anything that's giving me any degree of comfort.
yes, ma'am.
But you don't even tell me you don't even know why you did that.
Well, I know I had some built up anger over the years and some things that I couldn't turn loose of. And I was holding on to those things. And that's why I was the person that I was. And come to jail, I realized those problems that I had and I had to turn loose of them. I had some built up.
What you turn loose of and why were you so angry?
I was still holding some things against a past marriage that I was in, and it took me a while to get rid of that I had that anger against that person, and I believe I was taking it out on others as well. And I can say I know what it feels like to turn loose of that and not to have that hardened heart against somebody, because I feel free of it. I feel free of it, and it's
And
not there.
what helped you get over that anger issue? Since you've been in prison, what programs or what experiences have helped you get over this problem that you had?
Yes, ma'am. Well, realizing that I had the problem, and then I'll seek help for it.
Where,
So the anger,
what kind of help did you seek?
well, help from God and help from a lot of people. I know there's a lot of people that's helped me along my way here, and I really thank them. Especially a lot of the people that I've been incarcerated with. And these classes really helped me. I know the anger management really helped me.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what you got out of some of the classes. What you get out of anger management? Did you learn about yourself? Or did you learn about how you're supposed to respond in situations?
Yes, ma'am. I learned and I remembered how I used to be, where I would always act instead of think before I acted, or pray before I acted. And it always got me into a lot of trouble.
Well, in
And
this case, you called, before you rammed her parents' house, you called her on the phone and told her, look out the window. So you had time to think about it. I'm just concerned, Mr. Sanders. I just want you, I'm concerned because of how extreme your response was to this young girl, because she didn't want to be in a relationship. That's all I have.
yes, ma'am.
All right, we have some folks here who want to speak on your behalf. And so first we'll call on your brother, Craig. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I was trying to.
There you go. I can hear you now.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Craig Savage. I'm Timothy's brother. I have my wife, myself, and my mother. We all three live together at our home. We have a 4-bedroom home, 3 bath, and our doors are open for Timothy whenever he's allowed to get out. He also has a job set up already with our cousin Ben Lee at Interstate Specialties. And we're willing to do whatever we need to do to help Timmy get adapted back to society and help him get his driver's license and his social security and his birth certificate. Our father left his personal vehicle when he passed away to Timmy, and I'll make sure that the vehicle gets swapped over into his name, and we get all the legal paperwork done to where he can successfully be able to go to work. And we're really big supporters of Timmy. We communicate with him on a daily basis. He calls every day, and we really believe Timmy has changed his life. He's been in prison for years, and we know what he did. He needed to be punished for, and we believe he's had plenty of time to not just think about how wrong his actions were that he took, but he's had plenty of time to make arrangements to better himself. And he's been given the opportunity to go through all these programs and anger management and to help ease his mind. And he's not on the medications he used to be either. Before he was ever in prison, he was on anxiety medicine and abusing drugs and all that, and he didn't have a clear mind on himself. And now we believe that he has the clearest mind that he's ever had. And we just ask and all to give him an opportunity to have a second chance at life, and to allow him to be with his family and to work and to establish a new life. That's all we ask. And I appreciate y'all's time.
Yes, sir. We appreciate your input. You have two other folks with you, aunt and uncle, that want to speak as well.
Yes, ma'am. Aunt Jan and Uncle Johnny. Here's Aunt Jan.
Hello. Did you need to say something?
Go ahead.
I'm Jan Lee, and I'm his paternal aunt, and he's the same age as my son, so he spent his childhood at our house a whole lot, and I love him dearly, and I know he knows that he did wrong, and I feel like he has paid for that. He's learned his lesson, and I just want to say that please show him mercy like the Lord shows us. Every day we have a chance to wake up and lead a completely different life. I think he's learned his lesson, and I think it's time for him to see if he can get back into society and be with his children. His children have been without him, and that has caused his daughter to have a lot of anxiety and everything. And she has a hard time. His children need him, even though they're grown. And she's got 2 children and 1 on the way, and I know he could be a big help to her. And their mother is deceased, so they have no other parents. And we just love him, and I just ask that y'all show him mercy like God does us. And I thank y'all for the job that you do. I know it's got to be very hard, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Mr. Johnny Savage.
Here I am.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I been knowing Timmy Savage ever since he was a baby, was born. And of course, you know, family is family, and I love the guy. And which actually, you know, I know he done wrong, the things he did, but I'm hoping that he has served enough time where he can get out, try his wings out, and be a good citizen, hardworking citizen, and live a good life for the rest of what life is left. And like my sister said, y'all got a tough job, and it's hard to calculate one from the next and this, that, and the other. And words is all you hear. But hopefully, I really have a good feeling that he has learned his lesson. I've talked to him some on the phone since he's been in jail. And it really sounds like he's keeping his Bible reading up and wanting to be a good Christian. So that's about all I got to say. And thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And,
Okay, thanks.
okay. All right. Mr. Savage, is there anything you'd like to say to the panel before we vote?
Yes, I would just like to thank y'all for this opportunity, and I just pray for another chance back in society. I won't let anybody down. Thank y'all.
We're prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Savage, you have spent 12 years in prison. You've taken a lot of good classes. I'm glad that you took the anger management. You also worked on your drug problem. You know, that drug problem could be with you for life. My vote today is to grant, with the special conditions, that you attend 3 AA meetings a week. You stay away from Miss Dollar and her family. And to assure myself of that, I am going to place you on electronic monitoring through the state to where we can monitor and make sure you're not going anywhere near her or her family.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Good luck to you.
Ms. Jackson. Ms. Savage, this is hard because I know how your actions terrorize that family. I mean, it really did. You have spent 12 years in prison, or almost 12 years in prison. You have attempted to address some of your issues, and I can only hope that you matured. So I'm going to concur with my colleague. I will vote to recommend your early release with the same conditions and emphasize to you, Mr. Savage, that you are to have no contact whatsoever with that family. If you happen to be somewhere and they, come into your presence, then you're gonna leave. Do you understand it? You're gonna leave that family alone and let them live in peace. And do you understand it?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, my vote, I do concur with everything my colleagues have said. You have the understanding you'll have a state-paid electronic monitoring device, no contact with the family. There's no objection from my colleagues. I'd like to also require a mental health evaluation. And if any treatment is recommended, you're to comply with that treatment.
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. God bless y'all. Thank y'all so much.
All right, I think that now concludes our business in Washita. Thanks so much for accommodating us this morning. We're going to sign off, 8:46.
Dude, that guy is scary. Wow. I wish I had some articles to pull up or something. Can you imagine the worst nightmare? I wouldn't wish this on anyone. You wake up one day and your daughter is dating a 34-year-old psycho who one day rams his car into your daughter's car. The next day he rams his car into your home. But first he calls her and says, "Look outside." 34 years old. He says she was 18 when they started dating or something. Please, I bet you she was 17. What is wrong with you? Not only do you go and date a baby, but then you become a psycho when she wants to break up with you and you ram your car into her car, and then you come again a second time and ram your car into her house. I mean, this guy is lucky he didn't kill her. And he was probably only moments away from doing that. I thought it was a horrible interview. The only thing is that he has a 15-year sentence. He served 12 years. He has 3 years left. And I think they just want to get him on monitoring. And it might be, you might argue maybe it's safer that he's out a little earlier so they can watch him under parole supervision. You hear about this stuff. You're a true crime person. You see this stuff. You see these episodes about someone who spends this much time in prison, comes out and finishes the job. And that's where it's scary. I mean, he's just like a on Roach level stuff here. Now he's 46 years old. You know, it's interesting. The victims weren't here. The DA wasn't here. It's possible they just, you know, moved on with their lives or are even afraid to say something, which I wouldn't blame them. I'd be afraid because he's getting out in 3 years anyways. Or it could be they weren't notified, which happens pretty, you know, quite often actually. But they didn't mention any letter of opposition. It could be they said they didn't want to. I don't know. But I'm just picture this. A 34-year-old man meets a little girl, dates her for a long period of time, and when she breaks up with him, he rams his vehicle into her. But that was just one incident. Somehow I don't know, we don't hear what happens. Like, I don't think this was all in the same day, right? Then another time, maybe he goes to jail, he bails out, he rams his car into the house. And I think they mentioned even him ramming the car into their vehicle, but I don't know if that was, I should say vehicle. And people are nuts. And he has a family of his own. It's just like, I'm glad that Ms. Renatza added to get a mental health evaluation. Man, okay, we can do one more hearing and then we'll call it a day. Here it is. This one was a few days ago, but it's the same panel. It's not leaving you on a good note, though, I'll tell you that. It's pretty intense.
Mr. Foster, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Monjeral D Foster 367-917.
All right. Yes, that's what I have. Thank you. Let me just acknowledge the folks that have joined us on the Zoom. I think you can see them. We have Sheriff Dusty Gates, Mildred Ferguson, Mariana Ferguson, Chanel Ferguson, Belinda Smith, and Tanya Singleton. And we'll allow those who've indicated they'd like to speak at the appropriate time. First, Mr. Foster, I'm going to read some identifying information. We'll have a parole interview with you. We'll hear from the ward, and then we'll ask those who've indicated they want to speak. We'll ask for their comments at the very end. You'll be allowed to make a statement before we vote.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Mr. Foster, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a 30-year sentence. You were sentenced in Union Parish 2006 for armed robbery. You have a parole eligibility date, which was January 31st of this year. Your good time date is March 30th, 2029. Does that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, your case has been assigned to me, so I have some questions for you.
Yes,
the first thing that jumped out at me when I looked at your record is I see you've lost 603 days of good time. And none of that's been restored. Why is that?
Because I assumed that I could not earn it back, but I took classes and I'm at my limit. I cannot earn more good time.
Right. Well, I see that you have over 700 hours in credits, but there is a mechanism for you to have some good time restored if you can remain write-up free. And I think that's been your problem, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your last write-up was June of 2022. You lost 180 days of good time in 2021. So what's going on? Why are you having trouble following the rules?
Well, ma'am, I have problems at times, but I know how to adjust to them problems. I have a dark, I was doing a dark moment in my life when 2022 was a dark, when 21 was a dark moment in my life. I had lost a lot of loved ones, and it was hard to cope with, man, so to speak of.
So, but you have, acting out with defiance and aggravated disobedience and contraband. I mean,
Yes, it was a mistake, man, but I
yeah,
didn't.
yep. Okay, I do want to say this, you had the drugs in 2022, but I do see you completed Living in Balance, which is a substance abuse education program in 2018. So what was your takeaway from taking that program?
Well, I learned that I didn't have to be dependable on drugs as a scapegoat. I started going more to church and depending on a higher power than to depend on drugs.
Well, so you slipped in 2022 and you just threw away everything you learned. When you had some issues going on, that's where you went back to. What's your job?
Trustee, Range Crew 16.
What does the Range Crew 16 do?
Landscaping. Recently, I was painting schools, garden work, whatever.
How long have you been a trustee?
Man, since April.
Of this year? Couple months. So that's good. Maybe you've turned the corner. I hope so.
Yes, ma'am.
I do see you were removed from substance abuse education in July of 2022. Why was that? Why were you removed?
I was not removed, ma'am. It was I completed the class, but I didn't have enough classes to earn a certificate.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a notation and it said removed, so you've explained that. I do see you made the dean's list at Ashland University in 2018. That's quite a feat. Congratulations.
Thank
you. So considering your conduct history, which is poor, why do you think we should give you an opportunity for early release?
Man, because I have made the transition. My mistakes made me who I am today. I can't say that I was a perfect person, but I strive for perfection. I know the parole board do grant me parole, that I will find help if I need help for the substance abuse. I got family support. I have a job waiting. And be honest with you, my family do need me. My mama's going through some things right now. My sister's struggling with 2 jobs and raise her kids. But if the parole board do grant me parole, I know for a fact I'm not coming back to prison. I have matured while I was in prison. After 2 decades, I learned what it takes to be productive in society. I won't let my flaws.
I do see you've served 20 years of your 30-year sentence, but your record says you have made poor decisions all the way up through 2022, a year ago. So I do hear what you're saying. You're going to do well and you're going to not come back to jail, but your record doesn't show me that yet. So I'm gonna just sit back and listen to what the warden has to say and my colleagues and the folks who want to speak. Warden Pickett, what can you tell us about?
I know Monjeral, you pretty much covered everything in his conduct record. We have moved him back to a trustee status. It works on the grounds. Eventually he'll probably go back out on the road. He's completed a couple of classes. I'm not sure if they're on your, I see him on the record here now, a vow and his associate degree that he's got this year.
No, I didn't see that. Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, could we hear, we're gonna listen to the folks who want to speak, who joined us by Zoom. And I don't know, is everybody at the sheriff's office? Okay, so let's hear from the sheriff first, and then we'll go to the, where the other folks are located. Sheriff Gates, what would you like us to know? You're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you for the opportunity to let me come and speak. I'm speaking on behalf of the family, victim's family. Very concerned on about this. Although this happened prior to my taking office, I reviewed the file. This was a very violent crime. Based on what I'm hearing that you say that he's already a 4-time convicted felon. Apparently he has issues with now with even in a controlled environment, he's having issues. And it concerns me what would happen if he got out. Very concerned about that. And I stand with the family. I think we have to give them some consideration. The victim can't stand here and make a statement. So I'm making a statement for the family. And we totally oppose this parole.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your participation. Ms. Ferguson, Mildred Ferguson, could we hear from you, ma'am?
Okay, yes. Okay. My name is Mildred Ferguson, and I'm the mother of Thaddious Ferguson. And it's hard to fully express the pain and suffering that my family and friends have endured since Thaddious' death. We live with the victim's impact every day, and our lives will never be the same. We are forever scarred and broken. And we lost a son, a brother, a father, a cousin, a friend. And I don't feel that the defendant really realizes the consequences of his actions. Thaddious' family has been and will forever be traumatized by the violent, senseless, cruel actions and the financial, emotional, mental, it has been horrible throughout the years. They're told that it's taken on my family. Thaddious' sisters, his children, who were just babies at that time, and the children's mother, they have had and continue to have problems since his death. They've received help, counseling, and other help, but this has not done very much to help with the issues. And the last memory that his 3 daughters, who were just small children then, have of their father is being awakened in the middle of the night with somebody bursting in the door with guns thrown, seeing their father being beaten, and seeing him taken away by the defendant and someone else, and then them being held by gunpoint, and then never to see their father again. He didn't come back. And that has taken a toll on their lives. And that's some memory to be your last memory of your father. They were robbed of their father forever by this senseless, violent action. They didn't have a father to grow up with. They didn't have a father to protect them, to talk to do things that other fathers did with their children, all because of this senseless act. And the defendant is asking for compassion and mercy. But I ask, how much compassion and mercy did the defendant consider when he made the decision to do what he did, and to rob and beat and to be a part of my son's murder. And I say that now it has brought a bit of relief in knowing that the defendant has been incarcerated and is incarcerated for his actions. But now facing the possibility of parole is very painful and scary in thinking that he will be free. And it is the request of the family that the maximum penalty that was imposed, that it will continue, the defendant will serve out his time, and therefore no parole will be granted. And I just want to thank you for allowing me and my family to speak today.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Mildred, we appreciate you doing so. I think we have Mariana Ferguson who wants to speak. You don't feel that you can, it's okay. Your mother, Miss Mildred did a good job.
I don't think she's going to be able to speak.
Okay. Shamel, how about Shamel?
Okay, Shamel is there. She's not with us.
She's on the Zoom. Okay, go ahead. We'd like to hear from you. You're on mute. Can you unmute?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, I am Shamel Smith. I am the first cousin of the victim, Thaddious Ferguson. And
We've lost the audio. You muted again.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I feel like his actions were senseless. They impacted my family. His kids had to grow up. It was probably moments that they needed him, and he wasn't there because of someone else's actions. For years, we've had to relive the moments, and it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been fair. And even after he's been incarcerated, I see that he's gotten education, took classes, but he's also displayed that he has a pattern of negative behaviors that hadn't improved. My cousin has grandkids that'll only be told stories of him. They'll never get to meet him. I've seen the tears fall from my family eyes. I've cried myself. It's just not fair. When he decided to commit or be a part of that robbery, he robbed a mother from having a child. He robbed kids from having a parent. He devastated a whole community. And never, even though he said that he changed, I can't identify his change with his behavior and his mentality. I've had the privilege of being a correctional officer. I know there's rules and policies and procedures that he's violated. So me personally, I wouldn't be comfortable with him being in the community. It wouldn't be fair to my family. You know, if he serves his time and is one day free upon the date that he was sentenced versus an early release, he'll probably get the privilege of seeing his mother, his siblings. But my family, we won't get that. All we have is memories to hold on to, and it's just not fair.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate your input. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Foster, is there a statement you'd like to make to us before we vote?
First off, I would like to say something to the family. 20 years ago, during trial, I told you the first statement I said I was sorry. But I know I cannot, I don't know what to say to ease your pain because I'm always be a part of your family. Because I did do something senseless when I was younger. Even if I do not get granted parole today, I want y'all to know that sincerely, I am sorry for what I've done. The pain I caused your family. And I tried to reach out to y'all, but I was told not to write y'all due to the fact that they like tamper with evidence, you know, but.
Well, okay, so you've extended your apology, just now address your remarks to the board.
Yes. If I do get granted parole, I am a better person. I have changed. If you know the person that I was, you can see the change in me. You have people in this room that know me, that's been around me for years. I have changed dramatically. Yes, I have made a little bad decisions in my past. We all make mistakes. I'm only human. I'm not perfect. But those mistakes made me who I am today. I'm more determined, more focused. And more blessed to be sitting right here in front of y'all. I appreciate the opportunity y'all giving me at a chance at re-entry in society. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready to vote. Mr. Foster, I am encouraged by the fact that the warden, has reinstated your trustee status. For me, I need a more sustained period of time where you're going to follow the rules no matter what your personal situation is. You got to follow the rules. If you can't follow the rules there, you're not going to be able to follow them in the world. And for us, it's about, not just about getting out, it's about staying out. And I just don't feel I'm not there yet in your case. So my vote today is to deny your parole. And I would suggest to you, try to see if you can take a victim awareness class. I don't see that on my notes. You've done some really good academic stuff and trade skills, but I think you need some more. You need some more work. Mrs. Jackson.
All right, Mr. Foster, my thoughts are along the same lines. I think the disciplinary history is unacceptable. It's not simply the number of write-ups you had, it's the nature of the write-ups, the contrabands, and the aggravated disobedience. And they're all, we have some that's fairly recent. And so I don't think you're quite ready yet. I think you need a longer period without write-ups, so there's strong victim opposition. So my vote today is to deny.
Mr. Freeman.
I agree with my colleagues and I'll also vote to deny.
All right, Mr. Foster, you've been denied parole. You've got some more work to do. Good luck to you, sir. I want to thank everybody who participated today.
They should see it on our note, but we told them that. That wasn't gonna make a difference.
He's actually yelling at the warden about including something. That was actually insightful, that little trade-off. If we needed any more insight to how much denial this man is in. And I read the transcript, and I'll read it over with you now. And we heard about how violent and disgusting that crime was. It makes your blood boil when you hear him even addressing the victims. It's as if he is completely clueless as to what he has caused this family. He even says in his speech why he should go home that the mistakes made me who I am today. I am not perfect, but I strive for perfection. My family needs me. My sister's working 2 jobs. She needs me. And it's like, dude, you're saying your family needs you. You took away their family member. He has more write-ups and a worse record than he might be the top 3 worst records that we have seen in prison. Striving for protection. And then he's yelling at he's clueless. And the scariest part about this is that he will be out in 10 years. He got a 30-year sentence because he testified against his co-defendant. And man, to think this man's going to be free in 10 years is scary. On January 22nd, 2003, and that's 20 years ago, but it really, when you think 2003, it just doesn't seem like it's been that long. The defendant and 2 other men went to the home of the victim, Fredizo Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson was asleep. Home invasions are one of the scariest crimes to commit. He's asleep. He's home with his girlfriend and his children. The defendant and the accomplices break into the home. They hold the woman and children at gunpoint because you're so tough, while they beat and robbed him. He's in fear. He needs to do what he can to protect his family. So he does the smart thing, I think, and he says that he can get them more money. He needs to get them out of the house. The defendant and 1 accomplice took Mr. Ferguson from the residence. The other accomplices stayed behind, and I guess, of course, they did, and held the woman and children at gunpoint. Because they're women and children, what else are you going to do? A struggle ensued in the vehicle, and Mr. Ferguson was killed. So he tried to get out. He felt he had to. Or his body was left in the parking lot of a restaurant like a piece of garbage. The defendant and his accomplice returned to the victim's residence, picked up a 3rd man, and left the scene. Can you imagine breaking into a home, sticking up a man and his kids, beating him? Law enforcement officials subsequently identified the defendant. And what's funny is that how quickly they get caught. It's like you're doing all of this to get some money, and it's like, and then you just spend the rest of your life in prison, and they all rat on each other, and it's like, it's just, we see this over and over and over with criminals. Anyways, law enforcement officials subsequently identified the defendant and his accomplices as being involved in the robbery, kidnapping, and red rum of Mr. Ferguson. On March 24, 2003, the defendant was charged by a grand jury indictment with first degree. On April 6, 2005, the defendant appeared in court. The prosecution stated that a plea bargain agreement had been offered, and here's the 30-year plea bargain, where the defendant would be allowed to plead guilty to armed robbery. And that's why if you're beginning and you're like, oh, it's armed robbery. Okay. He was allowed to plead guilty to armed robbery with a 30-year sentence maximum in exchange for the plea. The defendant was expected in exchange, he was expected to cooperate with prosecution and testify against one of his accomplices. The defendant agreed and entered a plea deal, and he later testified. But on July 15, 2005, the defendant filed a pro se motion to withdraw his guilty plea, claiming he wanted to dismiss his court-appointed attorneys, and had he been allowed to do so, he would not have entered the guilty plea to armed robbery. And so after he accepts it, gets 30 years, because he didn't think he'd get 30 years, right? He thought the maximum was 30 years. Little did he know he would have gotten life otherwise. It's like they did him a favor. The defendant appeared before the court for sentencing on September 9, 2006. The trial court reviewed the sentence investigation report and heard the statement made in court by the victim's mother and by the defendant. The court sentenced the defendant to serve a maximum sentence available under the plea of 30 years. Thank you. I don't see, they say without benefit of parole probation. So how come he has the ability for parole? I wonder if they state that in here in October, or is this just a new law that was passed that he falls under the bucket that allows him the opportunity for parole with a lot of these different laws that have been passed recently? On October, and that's part of the problem with these laws that have been passed. They were made with good intentions. They would give people with habitual sentences, with like long sentences, to get an opportunity of parole, but it like included in that bucket defendants like this that really just put the family through all of this pain. I mean, you could see the raw pain. One woman wasn't even able to speak. It seemed like it just happened yesterday. And they had to be put through this. But on that note, I do want to give the board credit. They did not interrupt the victims during their speech. They didn't put a clock on them, which we've seen them do before. I didn't time it. Maybe it was under 3 minutes, but I don't. And then also the sheriff. The sheriff actually showed up and was paying attention the entire time. I know they were in his office. But the fact that he provided that and stayed there, it might seem odd that we have to say that's great to see it, but so often we don't see any of that. So we do have to congratulate them when we see it. If you're wondering who the man was, Dusty Gates, he's the sheriff. So this just goes into the review of the sentence, why he was appealing. He didn't think he should get the maximum of 30 years because he's such an angel, right? He shouldn't get the maximum of 30 years. He only went into a man's house and held his family at gunpoint, then took his life, beat him up in front of the family. Here they go through basically the questions. Do you understand what you're doing here? Are you going to get a cap of 30 years? Yes. And the fact that he took his plea bargain, you should accept. Yes, that's him. And I'll be able to sentence you to anything I want, right? I'll be able to sentence you to anything I want to sentence you to. He says, no. No? Well, what is the deal then? 10 to 30 years with cap. This is what he's thinking. All right. Are you obligated to do anything else? He answers, will I be doing anything else? The judge, are you promising to do anything? Oh, yes. What is that? The judge asks. To testify against my co-defendant. And to testify truthfully? Truthfully, he answers. Okay, are you willing to do that? He says, yes. And are you willing to accept that a condition of this plea agreement? He answers, yes. All right. You understand under the plea agreement that you may very well get 30 years hard labor sentence. Hard labor apparently means you can get an associate's degree. Yes, he answers. And you're willing to accept this plea even though you know that's a possibility that you'll get 30 years. Yes. With respect to the right of appeal, blah, blah, blah. And It's funny, they say that you give up the right to appeal, but he has a right to appeal. Maybe he has a right to appeal the sentence. I don't know. But he apparently had the right to appeal the sentence. Oh, they're saying he didn't contemplate that pleading guilty would waive the right to appeal a sentence for the excessiveness. How is it excessive? Man, you would have gotten, if you didn't take this deal, you would have gotten life. And you know what? I guess attorneys will do what attorneys will do. But then it goes through his record where he has quite a long record, which makes you wonder, why even, well, okay, so they wanted to get the one specific person. They want to get the one guy. So that's why they do this all the time. And it's interesting. It's like, do you really need to take these plea deals? Like, did you really was this really going to make your case closed, shut? Like, you needed to have one of his co-defendants testify against him. You couldn't just give them all a life sentence. I guess, you never know with trials. You just don't. So they need to do what they need to do. I know jury trials can be confusing and messy, but they did have a lot of witnesses. This was his 4th felony, but he's always striving for perfection. So, I mean, we've seen a handful of hearings today, all different kinds, and it kind of leaves you, it's a little overwhelming because you go through the motions and you almost forget the very first hearing that we watched of the Roach. And the different lengths of sentences that some of these people get and receive. And the justice system, it just feels weird. Kind of doesn't really seem to make that much sense. But please do the YouTube thing. Help the channel grow. And with that, I will let you go.